Good evening. Thank you for having me here this evening. Most of you probably think I'm about to give you some bad news, because news about what you eat is usually, well, bad. But that's only because we focus on the wrong things. Typically, we focus on dieting and deprivation. And we focus on these things because we believe, falsely, that that will make us healthier. But the truth is, the key to optimal health, both mental and physical, is actually the opposite of this. If we focused instead on satisfaction and enjoyment, our health would improve dramatically. And here's why. We started down the road of dieting and deprivation in the 30s. And the biggest thing we deprived ourselves of was fat. But there's actually little research supporting the notion that dietary fat causes cancer, heart disease, or diabetes. The real scoop on fat is that it is essential for healthy brain development, it helps fight depression, it helps your body process vitamins and minerals, and it makes nutritious food taste good.
Butter.
My grandmother's breakfast was actually delicious, nutritious, and well-balanced, but more importantly was the way we experienced the meal. We took our time, we read the paper, we shared a cup of coffee, and we ate less, but we enjoyed it more. And this is important because what you need to understand is, if you want this to work, you have to see that you are what you eat eats. And to illustrate this point, I'm going to tell you a story. And the story is about two chickens, Sophie and Barb. Barb lives on a factory farm. She, as most of you know, doesn't see the light of day. She is sick a lot of the time. She has brittle bones from poor nutrition, lack of exercise, and too many growth hormones. This is Barb's dinner. It's processed food made primarily of corn and soy. And you might all think that you eat a very diverse diet, but like Barb, the majority of what you eat, or a lot of what you eat, is actually corn and soy. So you can go to the grocery and you can spend $300 on food and you actually come out with very little food because this cart is filled with creative ways to produce corn and soy. This is Sophie. Sophie is a chicken who was raised on a traditional farm. Well, actually, she was raised in my backyard. And her life is very different. She roams around in a pasture, or my backyard. She eats a very diverse diet. She loves kale and spinach and dandelion greens. And this is important because what she eats, in the end, is exactly what you eat. And you can see this here because Sophie's egg is on the left. And the bright orange yolk actually means more nutrition, which means you have a stronger immune system, you have stronger internal organs, and the taste is much greater and the satisfaction is much greater. Now you may think that all of this making better choices is really about changing your life for the better. But the great news is when you make these kinds of changes about what you eat, most of the time you actually wind up changing the world for the better. And so I'm going to tell you a story about cocoa production. I was reading an article recently, and in that article it said 40% of the cocoa that we consume is actually produced by child slaves. Now we're talking about kids who are as young as 8 years old who work 80 to 100 hours a week. They are beaten and deprived of food, all to produce the cocoa that we eat in our chocolate bars. Now the article went on to say when Hershey's and Nestle were confronted with this situation, their response was that they really couldn't have control over global cocoa production. And as a businesswoman, I had to agree with that. It seemed like a bit of a stretch. But the article ended by saying these companies do guarantee that their chocolate products are not produced by child slaves. So the real power here, and what I want to leave you with is this. Expect more from your food, eat less, but enjoy it more, and remember, little changes in your diet can change the world. Thank you.